News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A Great Falls murder suspect arrested near Missoula. Good morning, everyone. Montana Morning, Wednesday, May 31st, 2017. Right now we have a cloudy sky. We've got 52 degrees in Missoula on our way to a high of 88. Our newscast this morning, sponsored by First Montana Bank, your home for free centennial checking, along with unlimited cash back every time you use your debit card. One of our top stories this morning, a 44-year-old woman charged in a weekend killing in Great Falls was arrested near Missoula. Cascade County prosecutors charged Pamela Jean Courtnidge with deliberate homicide in the death of a 69-year-old woman whose body was found at Courtnidge's home on Saturday. She's also charged with stealing the woman's pickup truck. The victim's name has not yet been released. The Great Falls Tribune reports the victim had come to Great Falls to do some maintenance work on Courtnidge's home. Investigators say there were signs of a struggle inside the house. The victim was found outside. Prosecutors say she had suffered a blow to the head and her neck had been cut. Missoula County deputies arrested Courtnidge late Saturday near Clearwater Junction. She remained jailed at Missoula yesterday, actually appeared in justice court, and her bail was set at the warrant amount of $500,000. She'll be extradited back to Great Falls. The Montana legislature may not be meeting right now, but there are whispers in Helena that Governor Steve Bullock may call a special session to deal with those state infrastructure projects that failed to pass during the last session. Montana Speaker of the House Austin Knudsen commented yesterday on the possibility of a special session.
From what I'm gathering, it's to fund the pet projects that the governor wanted funded and didn't get funded during the legislature. From the perspective of the House majority leadership, we're opposed to those projects. We think it's premature to come into special session right now, especially when there's a good chance we'll have to come into special session shortly for some federal stuff.
Knudsen went on to say that the legislature has already passed over $1 billion in infrastructure and that the state really needs to prepare for the possibility of a special session on health care.
Well, I think there's a very good chance that we will see something from the federal government as far as a reform of the Affordable Care Act. If that happens, it'll surely have ramifications to the state and our budget. I think we'll definitely have to come in and address the state budget if more of those Medicaid dollars become the state responsibility.
According to Legislative Services, the cost of a 5-day special session would nearly be around $350,000. The Montana Constitution gives the governor broad power to call a special session, saying he may convene one, quote, whenever the governor considers it in the public interest, end quote. Flathead County officials say a body found in Flathead Lake is likely that of a homicide victim. Sheriff Chuck Curry said boaters spotted the man's body Monday evening about 1.5 miles from the mouth of the Flathead River. Curry believes the body is that of 34-year-old Andrew Walters, who was thrown off a bridge and into the river on April 26th. The body has been sent to the state crime lab here in Missoula for an autopsy and identification. Cecil Thomas Rice has been charged with deliberate homicide. He has not yet entered a plea. Heather Joy Meeker has pleaded not guilty to tampering with evidence. 22-year-old Jesse Valerio is in the Missoula County Jail this morning on a $100,000 bond after an incident that occurred Saturday at the Clearwater Campground. Deputy Missoula County Attorney Mark Handelman asked Judge Landy Holloway for $75,000 bond.
Defendant is charged with assault with a weapon and 3 counts of criminal endangerment stemming from incident where the defendant was camping with coworkers at Clearwater Campground, where he became very intoxicated and began to challenge people to fight. At one point, he pulled a knife on someone and postured as if he was going to stab them.
Handelman said Valerio stepped up the aggression when he went to a vehicle and retrieved a handgun.
After he was restrained, the defendant went to his vehicle, retrieved a gun, chambered around, and shot it into the general direction of the campers and tents. The defendant later provided a BAC of .219. Therefore, given the danger to the community and the egregiousness of the crime, will request $75,000 bail.
That's $75,000 bail. Judge Holloway set bail at $100,000 and ordered Valerio to appear again on June 14th. Early Monday morning, Missoula police were called to a residence in the 1900 block of South 3rd, where a woman claimed she was strangled. Police Public Information Officer Travis Welsh has more.
Upon their arrival, they did make contact with a 23-year-old victim who reported that her live-in intimate partner had been in a disturbance with her, and that had resulted in him grasping her by the throat and limiting her ability to breathe. The male was identified as 28-year-old Daniel Bogus.
According to Welsh, the victim reported she was lying in bed and trying to go to sleep when the incident occurred.
Mr. Bogus had some type of issue that hadn't been resolved, and he became agitated and angry and soon began attempting to strangle the victim by placing both hands on her throat. And when she had the opportunity, she bit down on Mr. Bogus's finger, which appeared to have helped get him to release her.
Welsh said the victim had some slight redness around the base of her throat and the top of her chest, but she declined medical attention. Bogus received a felony assault charge for the severity of the incident. A northwestern Montana man has been sentenced to 25 years in prison for intentionally hitting a bicyclist with his vehicle. District Judge Matt Cuffey sentenced 29-year-old Brian Norville to 30 years in prison with 5 years suspended. Norville pleaded guilty in March to aggravated assault on 21-year-old Luca Johnson, who suffered 2 skull fractures and numerous broken bones in the May 26th incident. Prosecutors say Norville was driving 50 to 60 miles per hour when he struck Johnson from behind and ran over him south of Eureka. A Montana bus driver was cited after the bus she was driving collided with an ice truck at an intersection in Billings. Police say none of the 7 students on board were injured in the collision late Tuesday. The vehicles sustained minor damage, and the children were transferred to a different bus. Sergeant Mitch Hart told the Billings Gazette the driver reported she entered the intersection on a yellow light. The truck driver told officers he had a green light when the bus pulled out in front of him. He said the bus driver was cited because it is illegal for buses to enter intersections on yellow lights. Many Montana voters were sick and tired of all the radio ads, mailbox flyers, don't forget TV ads, and phone calls during the recent congressional special election. But many also experienced a new type of political advertising, text messages. Somehow the text messages were targeted toward those who held onto their ballots until the last few days of the election. Montana Secretary of State Corey Stapleton said they probably found that information online.
It is kind of annoying to know that you're not as private as you think. It's public information that you've received an absentee ballot, and they can track when those have been returned. And so there is some element of that, and they can purchase, they can buy those lists. It's big data is here to stay.
Stapleton says some of the staff of the Secretary of State's office also received a barrage of text messages, and they apparently came from a group backing Democrat candidate Rob Quist.
You're going to be harassed. You're going to get mailers. You're going to get calls. You're going to get texts. We saw several of them, even in the last 24 hours that got kind of exciting. We saw some blanket ones. I don't know if they're from the DCCC or groups that were supporting the Democrat, but they were pretty harsh.
Those dedicated to targeting absentee voters can find out which ballots have been returned or not easily using the state of Montana's My Voter Page tool. All you need to know is the voter's name and birth date. Finally, the widow of a sheriff's deputy killed in the line of duty in Montana says she's counting down the hours until she gets to see him again. Broadwater County Deputy Mason Moore is being laid to rest today in his South Carolina hometown. Jody Moore said at his funeral at Somerton Baptist Church yesterday that her husband loved his family and loved helping people. She says she knows he's in heaven. She's counting down the days, hours, and seconds until she sees him again. Authorities say Mason Moore was shot and killed May 16th by a man with strong anti-law enforcement beliefs. Officers killed the suspect after a 100-mile chase near Missoula. Moore worked for sheriff's offices in Lexington and Clarendon counties in South Carolina before moving to Broadwater County. Our news talk time now, 6:13.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Partly cloudy skies and mild conditions to start your morning. We'll get up to a high of 87 this afternoon. This evening, expect a few thunderstorms. Some could be strong with gusty winds and hail. I'm meteorologist Matt Grave, the NBC Montana Severe Weather Alert Team.